have been teaching my students to understand multiplication and division. And one key thing that I want them to understand, that all multiplication actually comes in the form of area. It is always base times height. So 4 times 6 or 6 times 4. And that breaks down for everything. For example, I want you to take a look at here at the area of a triangle. We know that the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. If we were to look at this triangle, do you see that it takes up 1/2 of the complete area of this rectangle? Here is another example if I were to lay out the triangle differently. So I thought, okay, well, if all multiplication is base times height or length times width, I want to try to make sense of that for a circle. So I took on this little project this morning. You can see what I did here. So first I wanted to make sense of a circle. The formula of a circle is pi r squared. Let's come to pi in a second, but r means the radius of a circle, which is the point from the middle of the circle to the end. The diameter is the full width across. So that is the r squared. And then the pi, where does pi come from? I ultimately concluded after thinking about this that pi comes from the circumference, which is the way around the circle, divided by the diameter. So I measured the way around the circle with this string, and then I measured it up against my tape measure here. And it actually proves to be fairly accurate. The diameter as well, I measured with the string from here to here and put it up against my ruler. So in this case, the measurements that I came up with was the circumference all the way around my coffee lid here was 50.5 centimeters. And I came to a diameter of roughly 16 centimeters, diameter across. So when I calculated pi, you can see it's not exact to the formula of pi, but it is pretty close. So now I know the formula of a circle, and I can put it in here. I decided to see how this relates to my length times width when it comes to an array in a rectangle or a square. And if you can see, if you ever look at a clock and you were to break it apart and take your string around the clock and then lay it out flat, it actually can form a number line, or in this case, we can put it into an array. So I took on the project of taking my coffee lid, I traced it around and I cut it out. And then I just cut along the radius and I cut a lot of little triangles into it and I laid it out flat. And so you can see if I were to open this up here and lay it across, it would fill in the rest of my rectangle. I'm just showing you half of my circle and the other half of the circle. So you can see that I have the beginning of my rectangle right here. This would fill the rest of it in. My height would be the radius, and my base in this case would be 1/2 of the full circumference around the circle. So when I put that into my formula, an area, let's actually first look at the area of a circle. The formula of a circle is pi r squared. So pi is this formula right here. R is the radius, which is the point from the middle to the end, which I had as 8 centimeters. And we make that squared. 8 squared is 64. So the area of the circle that I came up with was 201 centimeters squared. If I were to put this into my rectangle with the same dimensions, my base was 1/2 of the circumference, so 1/2 of the full way around my coffee lid, which was 25.25 centimeters. The height is my radius. And if I put then 25.25 times 8 comes to 202 centimeters squared, which is the area of my rectangle. They are not exact, but they are pretty close. And we have a little bit of room for error, possibly because when I calculated pi, I came up with a slightly different answer because it was not quite as accurate. But I wanted to show you that even with a circle, everything relates back to basic multiplication, which is length times width or base times height. We can use this for tons of strategies for understanding multiplication and division, but this was just a little project that I took on this morning to show how everything ties into this. Thank you.